Good evening, and thank you for attending. My name is Denise McKelvey, and I am the moderator for this evening's candidate debate. Before we begin, please silence all phones and electronic devices. Additionally, please refrain from any interruptions to the debate as it is being recorded for on-demand viewing and post-captioning services. The Citizens Clean Election Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform and public education measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. The Clean Elections Act was created to allow campaigns to be more issue-oriented and less negative. The system provides full funding for qualified candidates who participate voluntarily. The candidates agree to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules, which include contribution and spending limits, foregoing special interest money, as well as participating in commission debates. The candidates invited to participate tonight are in contested general elections. Candidates in uncontested general elections are not included in the debate process. For tonight's debates, questions have been prepared by Clean Elections based on a voter survey, as well as questions that have been submitted by voters through the Clean Elections smartphone app. However, we encourage live audience questions first. If you have questions, please print them clearly on the note cards given to you when you entered and hold them up. Our volunteer will pick up the cards and deliver them to me. If you need additional cards, just raise your hand. We screen the questions for clarity to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal attacks on candidates. The debate is scheduled for 30 minutes, so we may not get to all audience questions, but we will do our best. There's an independent timer who will assist our candidate in answering the questions within their allotted time and will tell him when his time is up. Tonight's debate includes 1-minute opening statements, a quick lightning round, 2 minutes to answer audience questions, and then we'll end the debate with a 1-minute closing statement. Tonight's participant is running for office in District 27. Mr. Angel Torres, Green Party. He is Clean Elections candidate running for State Senate. We ask that you remain polite to the candidate and give him a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you agree or disagree with anything being said. Mr. Torres, will you start your opening statement, please?
Yes, thank you. Hello, my name is Angel Torres. I am the Green Party candidate for State Senator in Legislative District 27. I'm a native Arizonan and have lived in South Phoenix and Laveen for the past 26 years. I've been a registered Green Party voter since 1992, and I previously ran for the state legislature as a Green Party candidate in 2010 and 2012. I have worked in the airline industry for the past 29 years, and I'm a member and shop steward of Teamsters Local 104. My top 3 campaign issues are getting workers organized into the union of their choice, health care as a human right, and using the budget surplus to fully fund public education. Thank you.
Thank you. To break the ice, we'll start a quick lightning round. Please just answer with one word. Pandora or Spotify?
Pandora.
CNN, Fox News, or MSNBC?
None of the above. Democracy Now.
Netflix or Hulu?
Netflix.
Lumberjack, Sun Devil, or Wildcat?
Sun Devils.
Thank you. At this time, we will begin the portion of the debate where the candidate will answer the audience questions. Mr. Torres, your first audience question. What is your belief on the Affordable Health Care Act and what it's done to citizens in Arizona?
Well, I'm not in favor of the Affordable Care Act. The Green Party, as a matter of principle, we support a national single-payer health care system modeled on the system in Canada. We believe that health care is a human right and that that our health care should be covered similar to Medicare, that from the time that we're born to the time that we pass away, that our health care, medical care, dental care, vision, and mental health care should be covered. One of the problems that we've seen with the Affordable Care Act is that already we have insurance companies that are canceling the insurance for folks or that are opting out of the program. We already see in Pinell County where there are now no insurance companies that are covering folks under the Affordable Care Act. So we believe that health care is a human right, that we need to stop treating health care as a commodity, and that we've seen already in places like Vermont that are moving to a national, to a single-payer healthcare system. And I want to work with folks here in Arizona that are ready, willing, and able to move to a national healthcare system. And I would support legislation both in the state legislature, and I support those members of Congress that support a national healthcare system. Thank you.
Thank you. Your next question. What are your reasons for running as a Green candidate?
My reasons for running is that, number one, when we run as Green Party candidates, we give our registered Green Party voters someone to vote for. We run so that way we talk about the issues that the other political parties or their candidates are not going to address. We run because it helps us to increase our voter registration. And we run because we want to get elected, and we feel that we could help, that we could represent our constituents very well in our respective legislative or congressional districts. And so that's why we run. Also, personally, I believe that the crisis that we're facing here in this country is a systemic crisis, not just a political crisis, and that neither of the two corporate parties are either willing or able to deal with the issues that we're dealing with in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. What is your view of the American dream, and what should be the role of government in helping individuals achieve that dream?
Well, as a Green Party and myself personally, we believe in human rights. We believe that we support the right of workers to organize into the union of their choice. And as a union member, I've been able to improve and maintain my standard of living. And that we've seen as unions have weakened here in this country during the past 30 or 40 years, that the American dream, as I believe it's defined collectively by many people, owning a home, the ability to save for your retirement, the ability to take vacations, the ability to pay for your children's college education, that's diminished and gone away. So for me, my focus is helping workers to get organized into the union of their choice, because as a union member, it's allowed me to improve and to maintain my standard of living. And so that's my focus, and I want to help and encourage as many people to become union members, because with the strength of a union contract, we have improved wages, we have better health care, paid sick leave, paid vacations, retirement, and by becoming a union member and the strength of that union contract, it helps people to achieve what they may believe as achieving the American dream.
Thank you. Next question. What do you feel the legislature can do to help fund public schools?
Well, I believe that, number one, we have to fully fund public education. We're not using, here in Arizona, we're not using the budget surplus. And I was opposed to Prop 123 when it came out. I voted no against it. What we've seen is that it has not helped to improve the salaries of teachers. And so in order to improve public education, number one, again, coming from the perspective of a union member, I would help get teachers organized into the union of their choice, because I think teachers have to be able to control their work environment. They need to be able to determine their salaries and their benefits. I think we need to hire more teachers, and I think we need to reduce class sizes so that way teachers can spend more one-on-one time with students, and that way we can help improve the learning of students in our schools.
Thank you. The next question. According to DES and their most recent numbers, over 40,000 people in LD27 live in poverty. What should the role of government be in helping lift those families out of poverty?
Again, as a union member, the way that I would approach it is to help workers get organized into the union of their choice, that if we want a strong economy, we need a strong middle class and working class, and if we want a strong middle class and working class, we need strong unions. Being a union member has allowed me to improve and maintain my standard of living, and so that would be one way that I would be, helping families to deal with the issue of poverty. Also, what I would do is encourage, and as the Green Party, what we do is we encourage as many people to grow their own food. Food does not come from grocery stores. Food comes from our community gardens. It comes from our farms, and so that is one way that I would be helping people to get out of poverty, is to encourage as many families in LD27 to grow their own food, to help expand community agriculture, community farms, and so that's another way to address poverty, is to, number one, that we grow our own food, and then number two, that I would be helping as many workers and families as possible in LD27 to get organized into the union of their choice, to be able to help them improve their standard of living.
Thank you. As a follow-up, what is your position on the SNAP food stamp program?
I support it. I believe it needs to be expanded. I don't believe it's enough. That, as a Green Party, we want to be able to empower people. We don't want people to be dependent on government programs. What we want is people to be empowered so they can be able to control their own financial and economic destiny. So again, not to sound like a broken record, but again, it's about helping people to grow their own food. It's about helping people to get organized into the union of their choice. And that's how we're going to raise, in my opinion, how we're going to improve people's standard of living.
Thank you. What is your position toward the expansion of regulations on gun ownership in Arizona?
As Green Party and myself personally, I believe that gun control is a good idea. What we want to the main issue is public safety. What we want to prevent is people, either children or babies, shooting themselves with guns in their homes. We want to prevent people when they're going to the grocery store or to the movies, or when our children are going to college. We don't want people to get, blown away and shot up. So, I support universal background checks. I think we need to get the military-style weapons off the streets. And to borrow an idea from Tom Hartman, I would support, in order for folks to own a gun, the licensing, that they need to get a license, that the gun needs to be registered, similar to when we register our vehicles. And I would also support liability insurance, that if you own a gun, that there needs to be liability insurance in case someone is injured or killed from your gun. So, thank you.
Thank you. If elected, what action do you propose the state of Arizona should take to address climate change?
Well, first of all, we need to begin the immediate transition from coal, oil, natural gas, and nuclear power, and transition immediately to renewable energy, which includes solar and hydrogen. I support a carbon tax, perhaps a 10-cent per gallon carbon tax when we buy our gasoline to fuel our vehicles, so that way we can begin funding the infrastructure to a solar hydrogen economy. We also need to implement that carbon tax on the utilities. If elected, I would propose legislation that prohibits the utilities from implementing any kind of surge charge that discourages homeowners or businesses from putting solar panels on their homes or businesses. I would also introduce legislation that mandates renewable energy standards, energy efficiency, and green build in our schools and our government buildings, including municipal, county, and state buildings. And I would also introduce legislation that bans hydrofracking of natural gas, because that the hydrofracking poisons our drinking water. And that also I would be helping to bring worker-owned businesses and cooperatives that focus on green jobs, renewable energy, green build, and energy efficiency. And also that we should be growing our food locally, so that way we're not having to truck it in from other states. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. What is your position regarding if the U.S. should develop a set of guidelines so immigrants who entered this country illegally can be offered a pathway to U.S. citizenship?
Well, as the Green Party and myself personally, we support amnesty for the undocumented. There's no reason that we should have an artificial or arbitrary limit on the number of worker or student visas that are issued. We have approximately 10 to 11 million undocumented residents, and as long as they pass a criminal background check, they should be issued a worker or a student visa. That will help us to avoid the possibility of identity theft. Once these folks are issued a worker or a student visa, they'll have an employee identification number, and we support a pathway to citizenship. You know, becoming a citizen is not an automatic or quick or easy step once you're issued your worker or student visa. It takes approximately at least 7 to 10 years from the time that you're issued that worker or student visa. So we support that pathway to citizenship as members of the Green Party, and so yes, I would support legislation in the state legislature, and I would support our Congress members to support that similar legislation in the Congress.
Thank you. What is your perspective on the adoption of a law to allow for the purchase and use of recreational marijuana among those 21 and older in Arizona?
Yes, I support Proposition 205, and I will be voting yes on that proposition. I think that we need to decriminalize marijuana. Folks that should be able to purchase for their own individual use. And so yes, I support that legislation.
Thank you. The next one on state rights. What is your position toward increasing individual states' rights and granting less power to the federal government?
States' rights. So generically speaking, I would probably say no, because I believe that the move towards states' rights is battles against the protection of our environment. And so, you know, generically speaking, I would probably I would say no, that I don't support that move.
Thank you. Do you believe the government should be able to regulate campaign spending? Why or why not?
Yes, I believe that campaign spending should be regulated. As the Green Party, we support public financing of elections, and we believe it should be expanded to everywhere from municipal races all the way up to Congress and the president. Part of the problem is that we see that whether it's dark money or Citizens United or FEC versus McCutcheon, that this unlimited amount of money is corrupting our political system. And as a Green Party, we support a constitutional amendment that would say that corporations are not people and that money is not free speech. And so that, folks, if they're interested in getting involved with that, coalition, that movement to amend the Constitution, the group that folks should get involved with is called Move to Amend, and you can go to the website at movetoamend.org. Again, as a Green Party, we support amending the Constitution that says corporations are not people and money does not equal free speech. The problem with an unlimited amount of money is that we as individuals and union members will never be able to outspend the corporations. So we support the move to amend the Constitution that says corporations are not people and money does not equal freedom of speech, and that folks, again, should go to the website movetoamend.org to get involved with that campaign.
Thank you. Next question. What are your thoughts regarding increasing the state's minimum wage?
We support it as a Green Party. We support a $15 an hour minimum wage. I'll be voting yes on the ballot proposition. I believe it's ballot proposition 206. And although that raising the state minimum wage, again, in my opinion, doesn't really go far enough, because even though we raise the minimum wage, do workers have the right to organize into the union of their choice? Are they still at-will employees? And so again, I applaud those efforts, but again, I would be encouraging folks that support that amendment also to look at getting organized into the union of their choice, and I would be willing to help anyone in LD27 or throughout the state of Arizona to help them to get organized. But I believe the raising of the state minimum wage is a good first step.
Thank you. If elected, what steps would you take to continue diversifying Arizona's economy, and what industries or sectors would you focus on?
As far as diversifying the economy, I think, at least in my opinion, the corporate model is not working, and that part of what I would be doing, what I plan to do in 2017 is to help bring worker-owned businesses to the state of Arizona. If folks will Google the Cleveland model or go to the website community-wealth.org, and they'll hear about the work of many organizations and communities across the country, how they're bringing worker-owned cooperatives into their community. So for me personally, that's what I want to do, is help as far as diversifying our economy, is to bring worker-owned cooperatives that are going to help us to, as far as economic development, that are going to help us bring green jobs to our community here in LD27 and throughout the state of Arizona, and that are going to help us to stabilize and strengthen our neighborhoods.
Thank you. Given the current electoral environment and voters' seeming lack of trust in their elected officials, what actions do you think elected officials can or should take to gain and maintain the voters' trust?
Well, I think you have to be involved with the community. Again, my background is in union organizing and being a union member. I've been a union member for 12 years. And so that's how I am involved in the community. And, that's how I would be approaching as far as networking and reaching out to folks in our neighborhoods and in Legislative District 27. So, you have to have, at least in my opinion, in order to have some kind of standing or credentials within a community, you need to have some kind of way they can reach out to the voters. You need to have some kind of background in organizing, or whether it's on labor rights or immigrant rights or health care. That's how you just by networking and meeting people in the community, that's how you can knocking on doors, meeting with voters, holding town halls. That's how you build that relationship, and that's how you build that trust.
Thank you. If you were to be elected, what would be the first bill you would submit, and what would you consider your most important issue to address?
My first bill that I would introduce would be legislation to repeal right to work here in the state of Arizona. I believe that if you are covered by a union contract, then you should have to pay a service fee to help maintain and enforce that contract. I've been a union member for 12 years, and fortunately, airlines, I work in the airline industry, and fortunately, airlines are interstate commerce, so they're not covered by right-to-work laws. I believe that right-to-work laws are an attack on our labor unions, they're an attack on the working class, and they're an attack on our communities. And that if we want a strong working class here in Legislative District 27, we're going to need strong unions. Being a union member has allowed me to maintain and improve my standard of living. Also, related to that, my most important issue is jobs in the economy, and that we need strong unions in order to challenge the power of corporations. As I stated earlier, I would like to help bring worker-owned cooperatives here to Legislative District 27 as a way for us to democratize wealth and as an alternative to the corporations. And again, I would encourage people to go to the website of community-wealth.org to learn more about what I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question for the evening. In one sentence, please state why voters in your district should vote for you.
Well, I think that, in my opinion, one sentence, one sentence, because I'm a member of the working class and that I have represented my coworkers on the job as a shop steward, and so I would represent my constituents in Legislative District 27 in the same fashion.
Thank you. We will now move to the closing statements. Mr. Torres, your closing remarks.
Well, again, I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. I want to thank the Arizona Citizens Clean Election Commission for sponsoring this evening's candidate forum. And I want to encourage folks to go to my website at torresforarizonasenate.com to learn more about my campaign, to volunteer, and to make a donation. I am running for this will be my third run for the state legislature, and I'm running because I believe that the problems that we face in our community are not just political, but they're systemic, and that neither of the two corporate parties is willing or able to address the issues that we are dealing with in our community. So again, I encourage you to go to my website, torresforarizonasenate.com, and volunteer and get involved. And I respectfully request your vote on Tuesday, November 8th. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Torres, we thank you very much for participating in our forum. And to our audience members, we thank all of you who took the time to come and inform yourselves before voting. We encourage you to visit www.azcleanelections.gov, where you can find information on the upcoming elections, download the Clean Elections app, and learn about the candidates running for office. A link to the video of this debate, as well as other Clean Elections debates, will be posted on that site within 72 hours of a scheduled debate. Please fill out the debate evaluation form you received as you entered and return it to our volunteer. Your feedback is very important to the Commission and will help improve future debates. Thank you again for coming tonight, and you are welcome to stay and speak directly to the candidate.